Valve has announced that they're going to be shutting down Steam Greenlight in favor of a new system. Let's chat about it in the comments below, but first, my opinion. I'm Tarmack, and this is Feature Creep. Alden from Valve put up a blog post talking about the evolution of Steam. The crux of the blog post was about how Steam has progressed from a tightly curated store to a direct distribution one where developers have more control over what is sold. And I should take this moment to say that yes, I support more curation on Steam than less, but only so far as to determine obvious scam and broken titles. I'm not interested in Steam rejecting games on a subjective level for being bad, because I think the market is smart enough to make those determinations on our own. The blog boasted about there having been 100 greenlit titles that have earned at least $1 million each, with many of those titles likely to have not ever been published under the old, quote, heavily curated store. Which of course is a reference to the days before Greenlight where Valve actively approved or denied everything. But that's what worries me a bit about how the blog is constructed, because it gives the impression Valve believes curation prevents great games from getting on the platform. And quite frankly, if any of those games that have earned at least $1 million because they got through Greenlight wouldn't have made it through a properly curated store, maybe that $1 million in earnings is less legit than Valve would like us to think. So, Alden talked about what they're going to replace Greenlight with. It's a new system that should be active in a few months, though the actual date was not forthcoming, called Steam Direct. Developers will need to fill out a bunch of business-related paperwork, ID, tax documents, and such, which will get them an authenticated Steam developer account which can publish games on the platform. But in order to actually publish a game on Steam, the dev will need to pony up an application fee. The application fee will likely be somewhere between $100 and $5,000, which are the bounding values that Valve got when asking existing developers what kind of fee they thought would work best. And that application fee is described as recoupable, which historically has meant that the developer gets paid back their fee out of Valve's 30% cut before Valve makes any money, although that could be a partial truth and we're not yet certain how it will work. Now, a lot of this depends on how high of a barrier to entry Valve decides to use. A $5,000 application fee is absolutely deadly to most genuine indie developers because they're already operating on a limited or non-existent budget. But a $100 application fee is pretty well where we are right now, except without Greenlight to handle any filtering at all, since you have to pay $100 to enter the Greenlight system in the first place. Though granted, that is once per account and not per game. And even if you stick to the low end and put the cost around $500 to $1,000, that's still a hefty ask for a struggling indie dev. Undertale was made on the back of a Kickstarter that raised only $51,000, and sure, it turned out to sell a huge number of units, but Toby Fox's original goal was only $5,000. If he had gotten just his goal, but had to shell out $1,000 to sell it on Steam, would we have ever seen the game in the first place? The issue that I have is that Alden made the following claim, quote, developers will pay a recoupable application fee for each new title they wish to distribute, which is intended to decrease the noise in the submission pipeline, end quote. So they acknowledge that junk is getting onto Steam. That's what that quote says, and that this fee will reduce that junk. This is a point that I don't think I can agree with. I'll give a quick synopsis, but you can also watch my video on Steam trading cards, link is in the description, to see my view in much more detail. The short explanation is that by purchasing an asset from the Unity store, which is a complete game, or piecing together a shoddy title from a bundle of assets, you can make a lot of money even though nobody intends to play your game at all. They buy it because you sell the game at $2 with frequent 80 to 90% discounts so long as your game has Steam trading cards. At that price, clever marketplace gamers will buy your cheap as hell game because they can make a profit selling the trading cards on the market to other Steam users who just want to level up their accounts. You make money from the sales of the game itself and every transaction on the marketplace with people selling the cards. Look up Zonatron Productions to see a company with asset flip trash, but that also has millions of units owned by gamers on Steam. And for reference, this is how Digital Homicide worked as well. So is even a $5,000 application fee going to persuade someone to not fill the platform up with Tosh when they can guarantee a return on investment? There's no risk here like there is with actually developing a game where you're not sure it'll resonate with gamers. You're just building a Steam trading card farm and selling a load of units because your games guarantee a profit for people who buy them from you. So by removing the Greenlight process, which at least meant games needed enough votes and from the sounds of things a chance that someone at Valve might look at them here or there, we're now going to have a system that requires no oversight at all and assume that this will reduce the noise? I gotta be honest, this system makes me want to do the asset flip trick myself. but publicly and with all proceeds going to charity. I'd call my game Steam Trading Card Simulator. And what about VR titles? Virtual reality is already a dangerously fragile market which needs much wider adoption on the development side. Will VR titles on Steam be exempt from Steam Direct? Or DLC packs? Do new, small DLC packs for existing games need to pay the application fee? A lot of this is unknown right now. We recently had the Discovery Update 2.0 for Steam, which Valve has claimed is doing a better job of exposing gamers to all kinds of new titles by showing 46% more games on the main Steam client. They even posted an article about it on Gamasutra, and there are some impressive numbers, like the customer conversion rate increasing by 27% on the quote main capsule, that being a piece of the front page in Steam. Valve is seeing roughly doubled player purchases and increased playtime, which they rightly claim is an indicator of customer satisfaction. They aren't the only indicators, but that's certainly not a bad set of numbers to see increase. What bugged me about the article, and why I'm bringing it up in this video about Steam Direct, is that in talking about games earning at least $200,000 in the first 90 days, Alden claimed that, quote, more and more titles are achieving this benchmark each year, while Steam is also seeing more and more runaway successes, end quote. Sounds great. And by filtering the noise with Steam Direct, that should get even better, right? I want you to look at this graph. Now, unfortunately, Alden did not provide numbers on the vertical axis to let us know how many games are selling in excess of $200,000 in the first 3 months, merely a proportional increase. So I built my own graphs, trying to match his visually just to get an idea of what kinds of increases we're talking about here. And I'm going to slow this bit down a little because it's important. For 2013 to 2014, it's about a 55% increase in the number of games that earned more than $200,000 in the first 90 days. From 2014 to 2015, it drops dramatically to around a 5 to 6% increase in the number of games that got those earnings. And from 2015 to 2016, it bumps up a little bit again to around a 13% increase. So in plain English, the number of games that make $200,000 in the first 90 days jumped by a lot in 13-14, but a pretty small amount relatively speaking in 14-15 and 15-16. Now, this is a difficult assertion to make without having the exact numbers that Alden used for his graph, but I think that an argument can be made on the proportions here. Steam saw the number of games on the platform increase by around 38% in 2016 alone. Thousands of games were released last year, and Valve has historically been closing the gap on how long it takes them to get every 25 million new sets of users on Steam. First it was 14 months, then 9 months, then 6 months. So what we have is a situation where the number of games and the number of users are rising at a dramatically increasing rate. But the number of games making it to 200,000 in the first 3 months is increasing at a much lower rate. What does that mean? It means that the rate at which Valve is exposing people to a wider range of games, which is what they said the Discovery Update was for, and reducing the noise as Steam Direct is intended to do would support, is dramatically lower than the rate at which new games and new gamers are arriving on Steam. I'd hazard an educated hypothesis that this simply shows that Valve is increasing the draw of already successful games at a much higher rate than lesser-known indies, which indicates a lower potential exposure on Steam if you're a developer. The Steam Discovery Update isn't funneling people towards new indies, it's funneling people towards already successful, popular products. So, Steam Direct as a system is intended to remove the curation that even a curation-limited system like Greenlight offers. It introduces a barrier to entry for genuine indie developers that is unlikely to really scare off the more frequent asset flip development houses, and it will of course not impact larger studios at all. And all of this so that Valve can further remove itself from the customer. I'm not keen on that direction. In order to deal with the acknowledged noise in the pipeline, to use their words, Valve would rather take a deposit and then pretend that the problem isn't there, rather than properly pay people to filter anything. Though I will say that this makes me look forward to whatever it is that Amazon has coming down the pipe with the patents for their game client. I made it as a joke in the news wrap-up that Amazon has one thing Valve doesn't, which is customer service, and as much as it's a joke, it's also the truth. As someone who does game-related content on YouTube, I'm looking for new releases all the time, and quite frankly, none of this surprises me. Not the slowing increase of games doing better than 200 grand in 90 days, not my disagreement that Steam Direct will reduce the noise, none of it. It's a pain in the ass to look for new releases on Steam that are not already selling a ton of games. The platform is designed very precisely to sell more of what is selling a ton already. That's the truth of what Steam is all about. It has nothing to do with helping expose the best products on the platform, rather it's about reinforcing what the game market has already decided is the most popular to the detriment of other things. And I absolutely get that there's a valid argument to be made that popularity does indicate market desire. But I also dispute that just because something is popular doesn't mean it's good. And all of this is fine, I guess, it's their store, but I'm not too keen on the changes. Right now we have bloody boobs at the top of the popular new release list selling a ton simply because boobs and controversy. I've yet to see anyone actually talk favorably about it, even the positive reviews are just a bunch of people commenting on how hard it is to write a review one-handed. There are really great indie games out there with their developers wondering what they did wrong, because Steam built its automated system in such a way that it would rather promote bloody boobs instead. And that's kind of sad. But let's not pretend that putting an application fee out front is going to make that situation better. It merely bars entry for those on a low budget and causes a temporary inconvenience for the guaranteed profit that comes with a Steam trading card asset flip. And until Valve fixes the card situation, this problem is not going to go away. What do you think about the upcoming Steam Direct system? Will it help or hurt? Feature Creep is a regular show on the channel provided with no YouTube ads courtesy of Patreon backers, so if you enjoy the stuff and want to join their ranks, head over to patreon.com/Tarmack. Also, please understand, I don't get much enjoyment out of attacking Valve. I'm a PC primary gamer and would rather have nothing but praises to sing, but at the moment they're moving in a direction I don't agree is positive, so these kinds of videos will continue for as long as that's true. I think that a lot of these problems come from Valve's flat corporate structure where they claim no bosses or other such things, which, if true, company-wide, it simply means that they have no way to hire somebody to do the crappy jobs. Could easily contract it out, though. Thanks for watching. That's all I have to say. Tarmack out.